Okay, so you got a goal you want to pursue, a habit you want to change, some part of yourself that you want to let go of so you can be a better person? Well, congratulations, you're about to meet resistance. Stephen Pressfield writes in The War of Art, resistance obstructs movement only from a lower sphere to a higher. It kicks in when we seek to pursue a calling in the arts, launch an innovative enterprise, or evolve to a high station morally, ethically, or spiritually. Right? There seems to be no resistance to the falling down part of life, to moving out of our best self and into our old habits, our old ways of being in the world. But what about when you want to elevate, when you're trying to move on? That's where resistance rears its ugly head, and you have to figure out how to deal with it. And that's what we're talking about today. Okay, so the typical strategies for dealing with resistance usually involve some sort of battling, fighting, or other kind of aggressive, angry energy to get rid of this thing we don't want. Alternatively, we're offered suggestions like, just think happy thoughts and it will all go away. And we know that doesn't work, at least not for long. So today I'm going to be bringing you some practical and metaphysical tools to help you, first of all, become aware of what your specific type of resistance is, where it comes from, and then move you into acceptance and, of course, loving yourself despite your resistance. And that freedom that you get from loving yourself anyways, despite your resistance, is what's going to allow you to transcend it and move forward. Welcome to this latest episode of Awakened Creators. So the first tool that I'm bringing you is a tarot reflection. Now the tarot card that I've chosen to discuss resistance is the Eight of Swords. Swords are all about our mental energies. And you'll see in the depiction of this card, you have a figure that's completely bound and surrounded by swords. So liken this to the idea of feeling trapped by your thoughts, feeling like you can't get out of the situation you're in because of self-doubt. Maybe you judge yourself a lot in your head. Basically, all of those things swirling around in your brain that tell you why you can't do something. That's resistance. Now, I particularly like the imagery on this tarot deck, which is the Anna K tarot deck. This Eight of Swords shows two figures, which is not traditional. Now, the figure that's outside of the mirror, I like to believe, is our higher self. It's the part of us that knows everything's fine and we're doing well and that life is going and playing out as it should. The part of ourselves that's in the reflection is what we see and what we usually associate with who we really are, which is this crazy character who's all bound up by life, can't move this way or that, and is completely paralyzed by their fear and their thoughts. Now, if you look closer at the image in the mirror, you will notice that they have access to a sword, and they're bound, sure, but not all that tightly. If they really wanted to, they could break themselves free. But how do they do that? They can't see anything. They do it by using their intuition, right? If that was you, you would have to feel for that sword. And that sword, in my opinion, represents your truth, the true part of you, the part of you that knows who you really are and what you're really worth. Now, if we can use our intuition and tune in and move to that sword, we could break ourselves free from this. Now, alternatively, you could take the perspective of the figure that's outside of the mirror and tune into your higher state of being that knows that all of this mental energy, despite how futile it feels, despite how negative it feels, are just thoughts. That's it. They can't actually hurt you in any way, shape, or form. And also, they're not actually reflective of your current state. Now, there's a Zen saying that our minds should be like a mirror. They should grasp nothing. They should cling to nothing. They receive images, but they don't hold on to them. And I really feel that coming through strongly with this card. And that's what we want to cultivate when trying to deal with resistance, is a state of observation of our thought processes. And in doing so, in observing how our mind starts twisting these scenarios, we start to see the essence of where our resistance, specifically for us, could be coming from. And then we can dive into dealing with it. But if you don't know where it's actually originating from, it's pretty hard to swing that sword where it needs to go. So let's jump into our next tool so we can figure out how to bring some awareness into where our resistance could be originating from. Okay, so if you're ready to go deeper now into what lies beneath your specific form of resistance, this writing exercise is really going to tap into that knowing. All right, so you'll need to obviously get pen and some paper to do this. And what I want you to do is really think about that one thing that bothers you, that one thing that you seem to not be able to conquer in your life or not be able to change. You've tried before. And always run up against that wall of resistance as you try to elevate your state of being. Got it? Okay. Now, this writing exercise goes in 4 distinct stages, and you need to do all 4 in order to experience the full effect of this transformation. Stage 1 is where you will write a statement that encapsulates this behavior that you engage in or this thing that you do that you want to change. And you're going to format this statement very specifically. You're going to write it as, I hate that I blank. That's where you insert the behavior you engage in that you wish to change. When I blank. And that's where you'll put the emotional state you're usually in before or during this behavior that you're engaging in. Now, I'll give you an example. For me personally, I deal and have dealt with disordered eating all my life, and particularly stress eating, binging basically. So my statement might sound like, I hate that I binge on sugar when I'm feeling stressed at work. And this is something I really want to change. So I'm going to write that out in that format to really capture the behavior that I engage in and how I'm feeling when I'm doing it. That's stage 1. Now, stage 2 is going to feel a little awkward, I'll warn you. But what we're going to do is we're going to flip this statement now. We're going to change the beginning. And instead of saying, I hate when I do this, I want you to say, I love and accept that I blank when I'm blank. So my statement's going to say now, I love and accept that I binge on sugar when I'm feeling stressed at work. And you might laugh to yourself at the silliness of this because it seems like so backwards, right? I don't love that I do this. I really, really hate that I do this. But that's the point. And we're going to keep going down this road to get to a place where we can truly love and accept this thing that we do. All right? So stick with me. Moving on. Now, if you're feeling particularly uncomfortable with saying that you love and accept this thing, then you know you've got a good one. That's where the treasure is, because we're going to transform this and really try to embody the love and acceptance that we seek. Now, stage 3 is a little more involved. In stage 3, I want you to take the perspective of that figure we saw in that tarot card in tool number 1, the figure outside of the mirror, observing objectively the mental energy of chaos that's going on inside the mind. You might find it helpful to do this in a kind of ritualistic way by creating a sacred space, lighting a candle, doing some deep breathing or meditating prior to this practice. But from this space, what you're going to do is try to take a higher perspective of this scenario, of this aspect of yourself, and really start to reflect on why you might engage in this behavior. What purpose is it serving that aspect of you? If this was a loved one or a friend, what do you think they're really trying to get at when they engage in that behavior? Maybe they're seeking to not feel lonely. Maybe they're trying to rebel against things they dislike about their lives or people trying to control them. Whatever it is, take some time to reflect on it. Write about it a little bit if you'd like to. Like I said, meditate on it. You might even want to sleep on it if you're unsure or feeling uncomfortable about what could actually be at the bottom of this. But remember, you're seeing it from a higher perspective, okay? And when you've got that insight, and we're using our intuition here, not our logic. We're not trying to logically figure out why are we doing this. We're trying to feel into this aspect of ourselves. What does it feel like? Why could this be happening? What could this be trying to achieve through unhealthy means? When you have that insight, you're going to write a new statement in stage 3 here. And this statement is going to say, through the pain, I see someone who blank. And that's where you'll put that insight that you've gleaned. Now, in my previous example, I would say something like, through the pain, I see someone who sometimes feels powerless and tries to soothe herself the only way she knows how. Your statement will be very personal to you. But the idea is that through that pain, right? Through that image of the figure surrounded by swords and bound, you see the truth. You see what it's all really about. Okay? Now that was stage 3, and that was a really powerful transformation. You just took something that you hated about yourself, and you're now beginning to really understand why it's there and what it's trying to achieve. Okay. Now moving on to stage 4. In stage 4, we're going to arm ourselves now with an affirmation. And this affirmation is going to get to the core element or essence of what we want to embody when we do this behavior. So in my example, right, I'm soothing myself because I want to feel empowered. I want to feel in control of my life. I want to feel okay with how things are. So my affirmation might be something like, I am caring for myself in a way that empowers me. Take some time and really think about it. Remember, I'm trying to get to the core of what your lower aspect is trying to embody that it doesn't feel capable of embodying, and therefore it returns to this behavior in order to simulate that idea. So again, in my case, I'm seeking to soothe, I'm seeking to feel empowered. When I'm stressed, you feel very disempowered and out of control, right? So I'm seeking to feel empowered by doing something like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to treat myself, I'm going to have this candy, and it's going to soothe me because growing up, sweet things were always what I had when I, did a good job or when I was feeling very kind of alone, to comfort me. So again, in my case, my affirmation is, I am caring for myself in ways that empower me. Okay? So now that you're armed with that affirmation, think about how far you've come. At the beginning, we started with a statement of hate. Then we moved awkwardly into one of love and acceptance of something we don't actually like about ourselves. But through our ability to see it from a higher, more compassionate and detached perspective, we see the core and essence of what our lower aspect is trying to achieve. And now we have armed ourselves with a way to affirm that in a healthy way, rather than having to reach out to our old methods of coping with life. Now, if you found that writing exercise useful, I want you to use it for everything. All the other things in your life that trouble you or that you feel resistance to changing. If you'd like this writing exercise as a worksheet, let me know. I'm going to put up a poll here, and I'll develop a form that you could easily print and work through it so you don't have to keep watching the video or commit it to memory. Okay? Now let's move on to tool number 3. Now, tool number 3 I'm going to share with you is a healing crystal. And the crystal that I've chosen to support your transition out of resistance and into self-love and acceptance is Unakite. Now, I have my little triangle of Unakite here. Actually, this is from my grandfather's collection of stones. And Unakite is a very balanced crystal. This crystal has that green, rich, earthly, grounded energy that's very kind of serious and strong. It evokes growth, right? Growth and abundance, moving towards the things we want. And then within that green, you have this softer energy of the pink. It's more joyful, playful, and obviously evocative of compassion and love. Now, the reason you want a balanced stone like Unakite when dealing with something like resistance, you might think, no, I want a crystal that's really powering through and driving me forward. I want to burst through it, right? We talked about this at the beginning. That's the typical approach to dealing with resistance, is to fight it or battle it in some way, or to wishfully think it away. We don't want either of those in and of themselves. We want to somehow merge together, right? And that's where Unakite is going to come in handy. You're going to get that more serious idea of growth towards the kind of person you really want to be, while at the same time being balanced with this soft, compassionate energy of love and acceptance that understands where you're at right now, and that either way, you're okay. So, if you're feeling like you're needing a little bit more support in your journey through resistance, I highly recommend Unakite. You could use it during the writing exercise that we just shared, or also in the meditation, which brings me then to tool number 4. So tool number 4 is a guided meditation that I've created to assist you in facing the aspect of yourself that you're seeking to change but are meeting resistance with, and finding it within you to extend love out to that aspect of self and pull it back in from a more compassionate place. So we're going to get grounded to feel safe, and we're also going to pull in energy from above us, from our higher selves, to open us up to that more objective and unconditional understanding before we face this aspect of ourselves and draw it back in. So it's very similar to the writing exercise that I talked about in tool number 3, but this is a more active participation of this practice rather than a writing exercise. So if that's more your style, you're more of a kinesthetic learner, you might like engaging in the guided meditation more than performing the writing exercise. I also encourage you, though, if you did perform the writing exercise at the end of stage 4, we created those affirmations. This would be a great meditation to include those affirmations in and really affirm that for yourself, those specific things that your soul needs in order to feel okay and able to transcend this resistance. Well, that does it for our exploration of resistance to change and trying to transcend it through love and acceptance of self. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button and also subscribe so that you'll get updates on the weekly videos like this that I am doing. Also, you can join the Awakened Creators Tribe on Instagram, where I post a little bit more frequently throughout the week and get additional inspiration on there as well. And I'll leave that in the description box below. Also, if you wouldn't mind sharing your affirmation that you created in the writing exercise in the comments below, I'd love to hear it. It might not just help you, but help another person in the Awakened Creators community. So again, if you're willing to share, put that. I'll put mine down there as well. Thank you once again for joining me on this journey. I hope that these tools have helped you and that you'll join me again next time. Remember to continue changing the world with your joy, guys. Namaste.